Hey everyone, Kathy the Vegan Prepper here, and today we're going to be talking about my secrets to creating the perfect chia seed pudding every time. Do-do-do, do-do-do-do, vegan prepper. Do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do, vegan prepper. So chia seeds are a super healthy food, which I think are very richly deserving of their superfood label. They are high in fiber, omegas, calcium, magnesium, potassium, protein, all kinds of other things. And now, while you may see claims online that say that they have more calcium than cow milk, more iron than spinach, that's not necessarily 100% accurate, because typically those claims are like 2 tablespoons of chia seeds have more, iron than, I guess, like 2 tablespoons of spinach. Like they're comparing an equal amount. And usually, of course, you eat far more spinach than you do chia seeds. Nevertheless, they are still incredibly healthy and I think worth adding to almost any diet. Actually, we have been eating chia seed pudding in our house since long before we went vegan. It was something that we began to add into our lives probably right about when we did take dairy out. We took dairy out again long before we were ever vegan. And so I have been making chia seed pudding for many years, and I'm eager to share with you all of my secrets. So, what constitutes a perfect chia seed pudding? And I think even more than the ratio of chia to liquid, although that is part of it, is getting a chia seed pudding with all of your chia seeds perfectly separated evenly throughout your milk, your plant milk, whatever you're making your chia seed pudding out of. Obviously on this channel we're using plant milk, and making sure that they are evenly dispersed. And so this video is all about just showing you the very simple way that I achieve that with my chia seed pudding every single time. Okay, now as much as you may love to be able to treat your chia seed pudding like you treat your overnight oats and make it like a dump and go and forget kind of situation, that is not how a good chia seed pudding will work. Actually, this is also the very reason, what I'm about to explain is the very reason you should not be taking, if you want to take, 2 tablespoons of chia seeds a day or whatever, which is a really great way to get them into your diet. You should not ever eat chia seeds en masse without first soaking them and allowing them to build up their little mucilaginous shell. I keep wanting to say rehydrating, but that's not really the right word, because they're not like dehydrated, they're just a seed. But when they soak liquid, they take on liquid and they form that little layer, and that's what you want before you consume a lot of them, whether or not you're going to be just putting it in your water and drinking it or whatever. But you can't just like take a spoon and eat it, because what's going to happen in your intestines is what will happen in the bottom of your jar if you just put chia seeds and liquid and then leave it. They're going to form a little brick where they take on just enough liquid to stick together, and there have actually been some kind of serious issues with people taking, finding out how healthy chia seeds are, and then they just try to like swallow a whole bunch of them at once. So don't do that. Let me show you what you need to do. Okay, for this very simple process, you will just need your plant milk of choice. I am using homemade soaked pumpkin seed milk. You'll need about 1 cup of that and 2 tablespoons of chia seeds. So I really love to make my chia seed puddings in these jars. A wide mouth pint jar is just basically perfect, but my preference is to use a Ball brand jar. Nothing against Kerr, but Ball has the measurements on the side, and it makes it a lot easier to create the recipe without having to kind of eyeball and estimate. So you'll see this pudding turned out a little looser than I normally like, and that's because I was eyeballing and estimating how much milk I was using in the jar rather than having the measurement there for me. So I'm going to go ahead and start by just putting a cup of plant milk in my jar here. And so there we go, to the 1 cup line. And now we put in our chia seeds. Now we'll do the first stir, and just, it's important to get all of them into the liquid So you just make sure that every single one of them has gotten wet and is in contact with the liquid. And then you'll pull your spoon out and just make sure that any chia seeds that have gotten on the spoon, you go ahead and get those off before they dry, because once they dry, they're a lot harder to remove from the surface of your spoon. So now, having done that, we go around and just make sure to get all the chia seeds off the sides of the jar. So this is basically what you kind of have to do to make sure that it isn't just gonna be a mess of chia seeds stuck to the side of the jar. And now I can put the lid on, and I'll be visiting this in probably 5 to 10 minutes, and I'll show you guys what we're going to be having as we go through the process. And I just want to point out right here, see this layer right here? If you didn't come back to stir at all, this would become a solid little brick of chia, and you would not end up with this beautifully distributed pudding like the example over there. Okay, so 10 minutes have passed, and I'm going to go ahead and give this a stir. So I did literally set a timer, and oh gosh, see? I don't know if you could see that. Some of it has already kind of stuck together. So probably 5 minutes even would have been better. But yeah, I did 10 minutes on a timer and came back to stir it. And so we'll just keep doing that for the first half hour. And then again, just making sure that each time I'm scraping the side of the jar, and it might seem kind of picky or, overly complicated, but it doesn't really take that much time at all, much less time when I'm not, talking about it and explaining it. I also like to look around the jar for any chia seeds that might have gotten stuck down here, because they have a tendency to get stuck kind of in this curve in a little clump. And so I just make sure that I'm using my spoon to go through and find any little clumps that may have formed. And then, yeah, get them all distributed evenly. Okay, so another 10 minutes have passed, and you can see that the chia seeds are somewhat distributed. And so it's time for the next stir. And it is looking very good. I'm not seeing any giant clumps or anything like that. So we have done a good job. So that's one more stir, and once again, I'm just going to kind of check for any little clumpings on the bottom. All right. And I guess we'll be back when it's time to stir the final time. Okay, so now it's been a half hour, and you can see the chia seeds are wonderfully distributed throughout the plant milk. So I'm going to go ahead and just give this one more stir, and then I will let it sit in the fridge for at least a few hours. In this case, it will be overnight, and then it will be ready for flavoring, which begs the question, what is my favorite way to prepare and eat the chia seed pudding? I'm glad you asked. So I take the fully soaked chia seeds in their pudding form, this gorgeous goopy mess. Some people love this texture, some people hate it. I am one of those who loves it. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it into what I call my horchata chia seed pudding, even though it's not quite accurate because this is not rice milk. But it reminds me of the milky, cinnamony, sweet, amazing drink horchata. And so I'll take about 1 teaspoon to 1.5 teaspoons of coconut sugar plus a few shakes of cinnamon and just mix that right in. And it mixes very readily. Now, if you want to get, super whole foods and perfectly healthy about it, you can use, blended dates or banana or whatever to sweeten it. But this just makes it taste so dreamy and perfect, like a horchata, and it makes it, oh my gosh, just so delicious. And so also I notice it's really nice that the coconut sugar seems to dissolve very readily even into a cold pudding. So like if you use regular sugar or even you know, some sort of liquid sweetener. Sometimes it can be difficult to get it to truly mix through, but the coconut sugar seems to do it absolutely divinely. So I don't know if it's showing up on camera, but the chia seed pudding has taken on a gorgeous kind of warm, creamy tone from that coconut sugar. And I'll go ahead and do a quick taste test. I love that. Now, if you want more sweetness, definitely add more sweetness. And actually, I think it needs a little more cinnamon. So I'm going to add more cinnamon before I finish that off. But basically, it is really that easy. The trick is that simple, just to do a few stirs in the first half hour, and then you have perfect chia seed pudding. I will say, for those of you, as I mentioned, some people really hate this texture. If you wanted to try blending it to make it a smooth pudding, you can. I will just let you know, in my experience, even with an extremely high powered blender, I have a Vitamix and I love that thing. It never quite gets totally smooth. There's always just a slight grittiness, which I find like I would rather have the seeds in this form than the ground up chia seed pudding, which is not really very smooth at all. But maybe you can try that and see if you prefer that, and you are certainly welcome to do so. If you decide you'd like to do it like that, then this whole thing is completely unnecessary. You can just dump your chia seeds and your liquid into your Vitamix or your high-powered blender or whatever, and then just start blending it, and it will become kind of goopy just in the blender, and actually it could be ready a lot faster that way. The other great thing about the chia seeds is that you can get them in other ways. If you don't like the pudding thing, you can use, instead of a flax egg, like a lot of vegan baking calls for a flax egg, where they're duplicating the binding quality of an egg by making like the goopy flax mixture. You can actually grind chia seeds instead dry and use chia seeds instead of flax, and then that way you can get chia seeds into your baked goods or whatever. Then you can still get some of the benefits of chia seeds, even though some of them are lost when you cook them, but also you get more of them when they're ground than when you eat them whole. So it's kind of like a balance where you can get both, like both things are good. They're still good. But I will say that if you want to use ground up chia seeds as your flax egg or your chia egg in your vegan baking, you don't need to use as much chia as you would flax. So where the recipe might call for 2 tablespoons of flax in, you know, so much water, you could probably get away with using half to 1.5 or half to like 75% as much chia. It will get much goopier than flaxseed. And I'm sorry, I don't have a more, you know, official term for it, but goop is like the only thing that I can think of, is that goopiness. The goop powers of the chia are very strong. So anyway, hopefully you enjoyed that video and you can make some beautiful, successful chia seed puddings for yourself or for your family, whoever likes it in your house. And as always, I hope the rest of your day is good and your life stays wonderful. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys next time. Bye.